Let's take it back. Pause. So we're only an hour and 11 in. Let's talk about what we're here to talk about. Saturday is Juneteenth. I'm gonna wake my girl up. She'll be all right. Congress votes overwhelmingly to make Juneteenth a federal holiday. The day commemorates the end of slavery in Texas in 1865. What pray tell is Juneteenth? Some of you in the chat might be wondering, especially some of you international people from like Canada and across the pond. BobbyBurke.com has a really good article on this, so I'm gonna read a couple little sections from here, and then we'll discuss. In just a few days, we'll be celebrating Juneteenth, the oldest known celebration honoring the end of slavery in the United States. And though many of us, myself included, may just be learning about the significance of this holiday, it's important to take time to recognize its place in American history and reflect on the long struggle for equal rights and how far we have to go. Does anyone want to break down, like, what would you say? I'll let both of you answer. What would you say, give like the elevator pitch of what Juneteenth is?
Well, you said it. I mean, it's a celebration of the end of slavery because, interestingly enough, word of the emancipation of slaves spread very slowly. Go figure, right? And it wasn't until I think it was 1865. I think that's what it is. Yeah. That word spread through Texas. And they got the word that, hey, guess what? The president has emancipated the slaves. So it was a celebrate. It's a celebration of the unofficial official end of slavery for those people who got the message late. And some would say, hey, we're still in the struggle now, and it's just slavery by a different name. And racism and oppression just keeps evolving and not diminishing. But and that's why you'll see a lot of shirts that say free-ish since 1865.
So let me offer you up one correction on that.
Sure.
You're being too generous. It was not that the news traveled slow.
They didn't.
The slave owners didn't want to.
They didn't tell them. They didn't tell them.
They waited. They knew, but they said, "Just don't tell the slaves."
Yeah,
they won't know if we won't tell them.
I've read some articles that talk about there being people that believed that they were still slaves up until the 1900s.
They did.
Because one of the little fun facts on here is like the Civil War ended in the summer of 1865. Union General Gordon Granger and his troops traveled to Galveston, Texas to announce General Orders number 3 on June 19, 1865. June 19th would go into the General Order number 3 stated, the people of Texas are informed that in accordance with a proclamation from the Executive of the United States, all slaves are free. This involves an absolute equality of personal rights and rights of property between former masters and slaves, and the connection heretofore existing between them becomes that between employer and hired labor. So that's what they were. They were literally riding from farm to farm and saying, "Yo, gig is up. Y'all already knew it was up, but now the gig is up.
Right?
Let him out now." And he rolled with a whole. Not a battalion, but he rolled with soldiers. Like he didn't just go out by himself, like carrying a letter. He went out there with guns and said, "They're free now." You understand?
They had to go out there armed. Yeah. And that was one of the things that propelled Reconstruction was the military backing of the equality.
Right.
And what ushered in Jim Crow was the deal that the government made with the southern states to remove that military backing from the southern states. And I forget what the compromise was, but one of the tenets was they removed that military backing, and that is one of the great factors that ushered in the Jim Crow era.
Yeah. So Cortez, how would you? We kind of spoiled most of it, but how would you do your elevator pitch on what Juneteenth is for the uninitiated?
Well, you guys kind of gave the backstory a little bit, but Juneteenth is the 4th of July, Independence Day celebration for American Black peoples,
descendants of slaves,
who were enslaved, and it's since been extended to any Black person who is in this country right now, and I think that's a great thing to do. So you celebrated it because that's when Independence Day was for them. 1776 wasn't for us, our people, the people that came before us, our forefathers. Juneteenth is, because you can't celebrate freedom and independence if you're not free and independent.
Right.
Even if you helped fight that war.
Yep.
Right.
And that's one of the things that for me, I hold this very close to my heart. Being a multi-descendant from a bunch of different places that were very, very wronged by these groups of people. We are actually having our Royal Ball in Atlanta this weekend for Juneteenth. My family is we've done a lot of digging over the last few years. We've uncovered a lot of interesting things. We're going to actually have our Royal Ball, and we might not have any quote unquote territorial lands that we can take back or anything like that we can't really fight the British government or the American government for that. But no one can take away your heritage from you,
right,
without you giving it away. They don't win unless we quit.
Yeah.
That's really what it comes down to. I don't care about the numbers. They don't win unless we quit. Word of mouth is how our people from this country and in this country have survived, whether it be through songs, whether it be through passing of knowledge from person to person, whether it have been the Green Book. Because if you remember, up until like the mid 1900s, most of us couldn't even read because they wouldn't let us.
That was by design.
Of course.
But now all of us will in our lifetimes go through our very first Juneteenth in 3 days. That is a federal holiday.
Federal holiday.
But at the same time, it's largely symbolic.
Yeah.
And the real thing that's being fought against in politics, the real systemic thing that would go a long way to educate the young in order to possibly stymie the systemic nature of racism. The study of critical race theory is being vehemently fought.
Oh yeah.
And making it a holiday, you get 1 day. Making it part of the curriculum can have some lasting effect. And they would rather give the symbol by making it a holiday while fighting the effort to make it a part of the curriculum that could change minds.
Yeah, because I don't think my memory is real weird. Like I remember a lot of specific shit from like 20 years ago. But if you ask me what my phone number is, you're gonna have to give me 3 guesses in 20 minutes.
And I put it down so much.
It takes. I think in all of my years of like American history and world history and all that stuff, and all that I did in high school and grade school and all that stuff, maybe one teacher talked about Juneteenth. One.
And I'm gonna give a shout out to Pam Pritchard, who was a literature teacher at the illustrious high school in Illinois. I'm not even going, I'm not going to dox her.
Okay.
But I believe she's retired now, but she was awesome. She taught literature that wasn't common knowledge, and if it wasn't for her, I might not be talking to you guys today because she taught me a lot of things about my own blackness that I did not know because I had been in this school system for my entire life.
Right.
And she taught me about these things. She let me know what was going on. She told me straight up, if something was in a book, she wouldn't teach it. And matter of fact, I remember quite a few days during our literature classes where she had a substitute teacher because she refused to teach a module. And I asked her about this, and she told me I'm not teaching something that's not real.
Right.
She said, I refuse to teach this because it's not real. She goes, this is McDougal, Littell. She goes, they publish things because they wanted to publish them. They said, that's not the truth. She goes, I'm a college educated woman. She goes, I have a doctorate. This is not true.
Right.
And you find out that a lot of the time that you don't find out the truth until you get to higher education, because they can't ignore it there. The academics don't ignore it.
They try in higher education too.
There's lots that did. You got to remember, we have historically black colleges and universities that teach the truth.
True.
We have those. And one of the reasons, and also I'm going to say this because you mentioned that they are trying to stamp out the historically black college by not funding them. Grambling doesn't even have a football team anymore.
Oh, that's
Grambling.
That's crazy.
Wow.
That is crazy.
They can't afford to have a football team.
And that is crazy because that is one of the
premier
and also one of the legacies of historically black colleges is the Grambling football team, the Grambling band.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
they were forced to choose between having a band and having a football team. They chose the band.
Oh,
solid pick if I was given the choice. Their band is off the chain.
Mississippi Valley State is right now debating on whether they're going to close their football program. Mississippi Valley State.
That's where Jerry Rice went.
Mm-hmm. That's where my father and Jerry Rice went at the same time.
Yeah.
But good old 80 numbers back in the day. You know, the boys was doing their thing. You know, shout out to my dad, Cortez Senior. You know, Super Bowl champion. You know, shout out to the man Jerry Rice. You know, I used to call you Uncle. I don't know you like that no more. I don't know him like that no more.
Right. But also, something. This speaks to the dearth of black teachers in our elementary and high school systems, and that was something at one time that I was seriously considering, was getting my teaching certificate and becoming a teacher, because our youth, especially our young black men and things, need to see these men teaching, or these black people teaching them, and possibly taking liberties with the curriculum to teach them some truth, instead of what is being spoon-fed to our kids, our young people these days.
Am I allowed to throw a disclaimer out there?
Sure.
Sprinkle some allegedly on there.
So I do know that I have a number of Caucasian friends. I like to call them white people.
Yeah. I
like to call them white people. Y'all cool. If you still my friend and you Caucasian, you cool.
Yes.
I don't like when you guys think that because I mentioned something about the past or something that another group of Caucasian people is doing, that I'm talking about y'all.
Right.
I'm only talking about y'all if y'all don't say nothing when they say it in front of you.
Yes.
The second thing about this disclaimer is you got to remember that just because you cool doesn't mean that other dude that looked like you was cool too.
Right.
And black people, the one thing that I'm going to tell you about black people is I don't F with people. I don't F with black people who don't F with black people. That's the first thing. Mm-hmm. And the second thing is,
I saw your cryptic ass message. I was like, if you
actually, the message, Haas knows him. The message came from Slossy Sloss on his server that he got, his new social media that I'm not going to plug right now.
Nope.
But because he's not done with it. But that's where it came from. And black people do need to see black people being represented, and whether it be teachers, whether it be, and I'm gonna say this, and y'all can get mad at me if you want to in the comment section. We need more black police, or we need no police. And that's just because you cannot have a group of people primarily policed by a group of people who don't represent them.
Don't understand them.
Yeah.
You can't.
And it's
teachers,
hard.
firemen, all of these things, business owners, lawyers, judges, politicians. If we're a mixed society, we need to have a mixed everything. Otherwise, we need to have a separate everything. That's just how it works. Either mix it or separate it. The choice is yours.
I think that when it comes to representation, you gotta have people in town in places that are predominantly one ethnicity or whatever that represent that ethnicity. I'm not saying there can't be any white police in black areas, but I'm saying that you need to have preferably people from that area and then people that represent that demographic, because there's already a distrust. There's a separation because of distrust due to the atrocities and oppression and brutalization and murder that has been visited upon blacks and browns by police in this country. So there's already an inherent distrust of white people in general. And then because of what has been visited upon blacks and browns predominantly in this country by state agents who happen to be white, that's an added layer of distrust, resentment, frustration, and anger that is going to, of course, lead to non-cooperation. You know, whether it's based on fear or just distrust. You know, I was just reading about how police in certain areas were taking advantage of the looting and rioting and actually facilitating it and agitating it so that they could loot pharmacies for prescription drugs and sell those drugs to their drug dealing friends, CIs and stuff like that.
Yep.
You know, and this happened across the country where there was unrest. You had police officers, and this is a fact, you can look it up under the DOJ. You had police officers participating in looting pharmacies for prescription drugs, Oxycontin, oxycodone, and things like that, and then turning around and then selling them back to their drug dealing pals. Okay? So think about that.
Ain't that America?
Yes. Think about that and maybe reconsider some of the posts that you made about the looting and things going on. And
they have
who was responsible?
Video evidence.
Yes. Yeah. And they act like they don't want to believe it. You know? They act like they don't want to believe it. And it's a horrible thing that people are so married to their ideology. They're so married to their biases and prejudices that they refuse to believe what's right in their face. Like right now, there are politicians calling the insurrection a tourist visit and that there was no violence. And there are people on the right who are like, yeah, there wasn't any violence. Even though there's 4 cops dead, even though there's cops that were beaten, even though there was shit smeared on the wall, even though things were destroyed and stolen.
Funny
now, but let some black people burn down or do that same thing to a Walgreens. What would they call it?
Oh, that's looting and rioting.
So let me ask you this question, Hass.
Yes.
And Mikey. I'm going to name a couple different areas. I don't know all the counties, but let's name a couple different areas. You have East St. Louis.
Okay. One of the highest murder rates in the country. One of the most unsafe in the country.
South Side, Crenshaw, College Park, Decatur, Washington, D.C., pretty much Mississippi.
You said Mississippi, the whole state.
You have the borough in Louisiana.
Fifth Ward?
Yeah, the Fifth Ward. You got
Baltimore.
You have Baltimore. Don't forget about Baltimore.
Right.
You have Bed-Stuy, New York, and Jamaica, Queens. Don't forget about Queens. Where else am I missing? I'm missing some places, man. What is the prevailing representative number of people What is their quote unquote ethnic background in these places?
Black.
And what are the politicians?
Usually white.
So
no, they're black. They're black.
Some of them are now. Now they are. But we're talking about 30, 40 years ago when it got this way.
White.
Oh.
So let me ask you this question: if those governors, if those aldermen, I don't know other cities what they're called, but if those aldermen, those governors, those mayors, those city reps,
state reps, and city reps, yeah.
If they weren't black, but they were governing black areas, and those black areas are literally the scariest places in America to go if you are an innocent and not from there. More importantly, not from there, because you can be from these places and feel like, man, this is fine, which says a lot in itself. But if you're not from that area and you show up in that area with a different accent, you're prey, and it's not necessarily
could be prey.
Yeah, you could. Yeah,
sometimes the safest area for a white person is a black area that's impoverished because either you a cop or you looking for some product.
Exactly.
So either way, they don't want to mess with you because
they think you got money or you a snitch.
Right. So
walk around in a Cubs jersey.
And I'm from the south side of Chicago, 44. I'm from the low end, 44th and Stewart. And we all knew that the drug dealers and gangbangers in the area, the last thing they wanted was some white blood being spilled on these black streets because they knew the heat was coming in. Yeah. And business would be shut down. And they didn't want to shut down business. So the safest place for you was there. You know what I mean?
Yeah, like it's one of those things where it's like, hey, it's a white person over there. Like, man, leave them alone, bro.
Yeah, yep. They either coming to get something or they coming to get you if you sell them something.
So what's his face? Sam Jackson and what was that? Die Hard 3, 2? Yeah. That's gonna be a bunch of white cops down here with itchy trigger fingers. Got it. He snapped all the way up. Oh, poor Bruce. Bruce had a rough life. There's two things I forgot to mention on the history topic, and then I'll take the banner down, and then we can go ahead and wrap up for the day. They called, even though most slaves were told to stay in place and then work out something financially to work with the former slave master. Yeah, they didn't. And it was called the Great Scatter. And everybody dipped. Everybody was like, I will go anywhere but here. Ain't no way in hell I'm staying here. And
why would I want to stay with my captors and work out a deal with my captors who probably just beat me yesterday?
Yeah, okay. I'll just give you a paycheck now. That's fine. Yeah,
that's we know about sharecropping.
Yeah,
and how that was.
Yeah.
You know, you didn't make enough. You didn't produce enough.
You didn't pull your weight. You didn't get the quota.
Yeah.
Moving the goalposts is the term.
Moving the goalposts is historically one of the most Caucasian things there is.
The caucasity.
Like we've talked about this ad nauseum, Mikey.
Yeah, that's how my family had our land in Brownsville. Oh, there go your Ash. I saw that. But there's one other little tidbit that we kind of glazed over, which is huge. When was the Emancipation Proclamation brought? When did it become a law?
1619? No, I'm sorry. That's wrong.
Wait, I'm under the impression that it never did.
No, it did. So it was January 1863.
1863. So it was 2 years later.
Earlier.
No, I'm saying 2 years later
for Juneteenth.
Juneteenth.
Yeah. So it was a full 30 months that people remained in slavery when they had already been freed by the government.
Wait, so clear me up real quick. So I know there's a growing number of people that have talked about it not necessarily being legal or ratified the right way. It's people saying that there's still a way for them to say that it's not something that freed people.
And any person that would want to argue that is a fucking asshole.
We're talking about like the quote unquote enlightened few, like not just the South will rise again types. I'm confused on exactly what it is, but
I'm looking at it right now, Dutch. No, that's right. It's not
Yeah,
right.
thanks.
Get out of
That's
here.
what I'm asking. That's what I'm asking y'all because I'm like,
No, don't pay no attention to the man behind the curtain. Uh, um, they might be referring to the 13th Amendment.
yes.
It wasn't ratified until December 6th, 1865.
What's that? The Declaration of Independence or 13th
No,
Amendment?
the 13th Amendment,
Yeah.
which is what was basically the Emancipation Proclamation.
Yeah.
But it was pretty much like a executive order first,
Yes,
and then
it
became
was,
law. It became
yeah.
an amendment after. But yeah, so for 30 months, the motherfucker ain't no way that they didn't know.
Oh, they knew.
They
But they
knew
wanted to get
for
that
30
cotton out. They wanted to get that cotton out and that
for 30
tobacco out.
They got 2 more crops out of them slaves before they said, "All right, you're free to go."
Mm-hmm.
Because it's June. June, you're in the middle of the season now.
Yeah.
Whatever you done planted, whatever you're gonna plant. So they made sure they got whatever they needed planted, and then government's here with the guns and the horses. I guess we better let them go now. And that's the thing that really, because it's one thing for there to be an atrocity, but to know that you have been caught in the act of said atrocity and said, I could do the right thing and just,
Right.
But you know what? Fuck it. Why
would I do the right thing when I've been doing the wrong thing all this time anyway?
I'll just wait till someone forces me to stop doing this.
Yeah, when they come with the guns, just like the come and take it t-shirts that we see today, knowing that nobody's gonna come and take your fucking guns. I just think that's the most idiotic thing in the world. Nobody's coming for your goddamn guns. Nobody's coming here for my guns. And people would call me a flaming liberal, but guess what? You catch a lead infection running up in here.
You're not. Look.
Speaking of which, somebody got his little yellow card finally.
I said this. That's what's up. I said this before. Y'all can go check the receipts. I will say it again. If you black and you can own a gun,
you better own a gun.
Own a gun.
That's right.
And I am so tired of people saying nobody should have a gun. You do realize that they tried to do that before. The Second Amendment itself is
well, I don't think that they're completely off base, but it doesn't. And most of the people that say that are not from this country, and they have a whole different culture and society that they have to deal with. In other places, works great. Here, it's so entrenched in the culture that it's either
it's American as apple pie.
If you don't, then you're going to stand on the moral high ground unarmed, which makes you a target.
Look, exactly, a soft target.
Gun control, and everyone loves to tout gun control. Y'all do realize that gun control is rooted in racism.
Exactly, because when them Black Panthers showed up with them guns, that's when
they say
gun control.
So I don't know
these guns.
I don't know
if I like before them.
We need to control these damn guns.
I don't know if I like this open carry no more.
It didn't exist before they armed themselves. It didn't exist.
Yeah.
It did not exist. Go look it up if you don't believe me. It didn't exist. There was no gun control, no gun reform. They didn't want black people having guns.
Right. Just like in what was that movie with the black ladies who were part of the NASA program, Hidden Figures. Just like when in Hidden Figures, there's that scene where one of the ladies is trying to apply to go to school for some course. And that course she's allowed to take, but they wrote her a letter saying that because this school is a subsidiary of this school and this school doesn't allow we can't, it was once again a moving of the goalposts, so to speak, and a changing of the rules that came about. And that is prevalent in history, where the marginalized community is trying to work within the system to advance themselves, and at many of these turns, trying to advance themselves, the rules get changed in order to, they found another loophole, let's close it. They found another loophole, let's close it. So that still goes on today. And it's going on right now in our states that are passing more restrictive voting rights, laws. They're closing those loopholes to keep people from voting because they know that they can't win in a free and fair election. And not being able to see that, not being able to look at the numbers and see the 7 zeros before the 1 when we talk about nationwide voter fraud, in the statistics of actual voter fraud. And guess what? Of that 7 zeros before the 1 after the decimal point, those cases a lot of times are right-wing cases of voter fraud. I'm voting for Trump for my dead mother.
They actually found more cases of right-wing voter fraud than they did on the other side.
Exactly.
Well, dude killed his wife and still voted for Trump for her.
That's crazy. Yes. But it's a right-wing talking point.
Yeah.
We have to fight for the integrity of the election. And that election integrity, guess what? That's the same buzzword that was used before.
Yep.
Zero's going crazy. He just heard a dog whistle.
The playbook is on rinse and repeat. And it's always been used.
And over and over again.
And it works. You know why? Because at the base of it, the initial playbook is the creation of white.
Yep.
The creation of that of white. You're white, so you're afforded these luxuries. If you're a white man, you can own property. If you're a white woman, you cannot. If you black or brown or red, you definitely cannot. And then you had the Asian Exclusion Act.
Oh yeah.
Okay. That prevented Japanese and other Asians from becoming citizens.
1944 and beyond.
That was one of the first explicit where we're gonna just say it right there.
Right.
Not like the Head Right Act, where the Head Right Act said this, but underneath that there was explicit exclusion as well. And the federal home loan program with the restrictive covenants saying you can't sell or resell to black people.
And that's even pervasive in loans today.
Yeah, you can still find that language in mortgages and mortgage contracts today.
Like it's really sad. Credit companies, loans. I just don't think that people understand why we make such a big deal of home ownership or owning a car, or even having a nice cell phone. Like y'all. Like, I'm gonna say this for the people listening. You see someone who you think is emulating a rapper. No, that person is not emulating a rapper. That person is trying to show that they have a particular type of wealth for where they're trying to go. Because at one point in time, if you don't believe me, black people and white people had different clothing styles that they were allowed to wear in this country. Yeah. So when a black person had a nice 3-piece suit on, they were that one's got money. That one is different. So that was the style at the time. People wanted to wear their suits. They wanted to wear their wingtip shoes. They wanted to look like they had it. The fake it till you make it thing was very, very real. People get mad about it, and people talk about each other. But I don't talk about people for that no more because I know where it came from now.
Right. It's one of the outcomes of post-traumatic slave syndrome. Of you know what, I have to dress a certain way to be treated a certain way, and we know that that's false, but it's entrenched in our DNA, so to speak.
Yeah, you can't walk in there walking like Bill Gates wearing New Balance and in a dad shirt and some blue jeans.
Right,
stonewashed blue jeans. They're not gonna pay. I guarantee you, Hass, they're not gonna pay you no attention if you walk in the bank like that.
Oh, guess what? You know how many car dealerships I've walked into and nobody talked to me for 30 minutes?
I know.
Because they assume that you can't afford anything in there. You must be there to get your jalopy serviced. Mm-hmm. You're not seriously interested in buying a car, and you would be surprised how many people don't realize the hundreds of millions of dollars that banks and other financial institutions have paid in fines for racist and discriminatory lending habits, where black people and brown people have the same financial history as white folks, but they are mysteriously charged a higher APR or higher interest rate on their home loan, on their car, on their small business loan, if they're even approved, because guess what? Blacks and browns are denied at a far greater rate than whites, even if they have the same financial history. But there's no systemic racism. Mike Pence says there's no systemic racism. So what am I talking about? Even though we're talking about the financial system right now.
Did he learn that from Mother?
I guess Mother told him that. One of those days when they had lights off, missionary sex under the covers in the dark, where as Dave Chappelle said, he just pulled his penis through the hole.
Yes. With his pajama bottom still on.
If you don't mind, I'll just pull my penis through the hole here in my pajamas. God damn, Dave Chappelle's a genius. Anyway,
I still ain't fucking with Dave.
There's so many things I feel like a lot of our Caucasian friends don't know. And it's intentional that they don't know. Not intentional on their part, for the most part, but intentional on this country's part. Because our educational system and our historical system explicitly removed it, watered it down, or outright lied about it. You know? Yeah, and a lot of times when people say, "Oh, you hate white people," number one, they must not see my profile picture.
Exactly.
Number two,
that's not a good enough reason, because
I know that.
I love black people.
But here's the thing.
And she just likes the Mandingo.
Here's the thing. That's part of it. But anyway, here's the thing. People have to realize when I'm talking about racism and stuff like that, I'm not talking individual. I'm not talking about people. I rail against the systems, not the people, because there are many, many, many Caucasian people who have helped me in my life. Yes. Okay? There's black people who fucked me over. Mm-hmm. There's white people who fucked me over too. But on an individual level, I treat people as you earn a modicum of respect from me until you prove you don't deserve it. And I don't care what color you are. That's what it is. But when it comes to the systems of this nation, that is what I'm talking about. Okay? And that's why sometimes I go out of my way to talk about and say systemic when I'm talking about this, so that people understand. But then people still try to individualize it. Well, I treat everybody nice. Your niceness is not making systemic change. That is being non-racist. We need you to be anti-racist. We need you to speak out against the systems of this nation that are oppressive. Okay?
For sure. I'll let you guys, we're pretty much at the end of our time here. Do you guys want to, any final wrap-ups on Juneteenth or anything like that before we head on out of here?
Go ahead, Cortez.
I do. I mean,
take us home.
Guys, I need y'all to, like, he mentioned it briefly, and I'm going to expound upon that. I need y'all to understand that when there's issues like this that come up, it's okay for y'all to celebrate with us. Yeah, y'all should be just as happy as we are. Shoot off fireworks, be happy. This is not something that you're not included in. We're not saying to claim it or champion it. We're saying, be happy for us. Join us in celebration. Don't take over the celebration. Don't come out doing Harambe salutes. All of that.
Harambe.
Yeah, Harambe.
Harambe.
Don't
reference.
do all of that. But it's okay to understand. And also, the big one for me is, just because you don't get it, don't become angry. And I will ask this question, because I could go on and on. We can do this again, but I will ask this question. Obviously, Mikey, you've had a job before. Obviously, Haas, you've had a job before. I've had a job before. I have been asking this question to every black person that I meet in a profession, no matter where I meet them at, no matter what job they have, and I've never gotten a different answer. Mm-hmm. I said, when you go to work in the morning, when you get off of work, when you go to sleep, when you wake up in the morning before work, on your off day, what is the thought that goes through your head? And it's always the same answer. Do I still have a job? Mm-hmm. I asked this question to my white friends, and the answer is always the same. None of them have ever thought about this unless they did something wrong. And they say, well, maybe if I did something wrong, and it's always the answer. If I did something wrong that day, or if I, maybe I took a little bit too much from this, or I took too long of a break. I said, no, I'm talking about the day you do everything right.
Yep.
The day that everything was smooth and nobody said anything to you about your performance.
Oh, them the rough days.
Those are the days where you wonder, are they going to fire me? Are they going to fire me today? Do I still got a job? Am I going to be able to pay my rent? Am I be able to pay for my house? Dang, my girl, what's she going to say if I get fired? Do I got kids? Every person, ranging from the age of 75 all the way down to 18, every black person that I have met on the street. And I've been doing this for, Mikey, you remember when I told you I was going to start doing this? Mm-hmm. Every black person that I have met has gave me that answer. And I have not gotten this answer from a white person yet. And that's what I mean by there are differences in how we grow up and how we are trained, mm-hmm. regardless of our socioeconomic past or history. Every black person feels this. Do I still got a job?
Right. It's today to
find out in the next episode of Dragon Ball Z.
Find out next time on Dragon Ball
Z. Why didn't you call me this morning? Why you make me work a whole day before you did this?
It's 11 o'clock at night. I got here at 9 a.m. You just not firing me? And it's actually happened to me.
That's some Juneteenth.
You just now firing me.
Yeah.
I worked for 14 hours today and you firing me. Be crazy. I broke all the records.
Right.
Well, we just decided that today was the day that we get the downside. You weren't the most senior personnel here. We're only going to keep those essential personnel.
But they're going to squeeze that extra day of productivity out of you.
Yeah, and that was probably your best day on top of it.
Right.
Because you didn't have anybody bother you all
No, because they were staying away from you because they knew they was going to fire your ass at the end of the day.
You probably left like, I could work here for another 5 years. And then you find out.
It wasn't that bad today. Or they tap you on the shoulder at 4:50. Right at the end of your shift.
Can you please walk into the office really quick? Office has never been in before.
Right. Can you meet me? No, meet me in the conference room.
Oh yeah, because they got the loss prevention dude in
there. Hey, just hand me the bag. Just hand me the bag. Right now.
The foreman
hand me the box right now.
So, and that's just one example, y'all.
5 minutes.
I leave that example with y'all, and we could go on multiple ones. I know Oscar probably got a few. Mikey's probably got a few of the differences between just professionalism and getting ahead in work. And I want y'all to understand that this is something that we live with every day. And I don't really want my daughter to have to grow up like that.
Right. Right.
But she
I talk about that too. And I say, whenever I leave the house, in the back of my mind, it's, is this, I make sure I kiss everybody in the house. Mm-hmm. Yep. I make sure I say I love you to everybody in the house. Not just because I care for them and I love them, but on some level, some days higher than others, am I gonna make it back here?
There's no telling, and there's something that we don't.
Am I gonna make it back here, or is this the day some fucking cop or some guy who believes he's better than me and thinks my car is above my station, snuffs me out?
What's her name?
Or wants to snuff me out.
What's her name? What they call them? What if Karen calls on you for eating your lunch in the car?
Right. He's been sitting in the car eating that burrito for a long time. I
think
he
hates the burrito.
And then some cop jumps on my hood and puts 56 bullets in my windshield.
You can't go to the grocery store. You can't go to the convenience store. You can't walk down the street eating Skittles. Yeah. Eating Skittles and drinking a can of refreshing Arizona.
Right.
without somebody, whether it doesn't even have to be law enforcement. Get that out of your brains. It is not the job, people. It's the people in the job.
Right.
That's what we're talking about. Do they represent with their job? I mean, if I'm a baseball player and I got a Cubs jersey, I represent the Cubs, right? I could get fired for that, as people have. Addison Russell,
Right.
They should be held at the same standard. I just want to come home. A
higher standard. You're a state agent.
LeBron, shut up and dribble. But this dude can pump 50 shots into somebody. I walked in the wrong house. My bad.
And you know something? What's funny is shut up and dribble is also subjective, because when Drew Brees talks about his political leanings and what he feels about the flag and things like that, it's fine. So it's shut up and dribble or shut up and throw the ball unless you're saying what we like.
Well, that's you're here to entertain me. I don't need your.
Yeah.
I don't need.
You're only here to entertain me unless you're speaking in a way that I like you to speak.
500 million shares, by the way, for that Drew Brees post. 500 million shares.
Right. Think about that.
That's crazy. About that.
Colin Kaepernick had 17 million shares and it went viral. Drew Brees had 500 million shares. 2 quarterbacks, 2 professionals. One has a job still, even though he's been injured forever.
18 years.
He's a great quarterback, though. You can't hate on this game on the field.
I can't hate on Drew, but you have to remember that Drew can't run, so they got somebody else doing it for him.
Yes, that's true. That is true.
But over Kaepernick's throws are not always there. Neither is Drew's. He can't run.
And here's the thing. The last year that dude played, he had a 2-to-1 interception ratio, touchdown to interception ratio. He was finally healthy. And people just throw context out the window when they feel like it suits them. They don't want to talk about how he was injured the previous 3 years. He had 3 different surgeries in one off season and was trying to come back from that and had lost weight and all of that stuff. And when he finally got healthy, he won his job back.
Yes, he won his job
back. 4-to-1 interception ratio because he had 16 touchdowns and 4 picks.
Not to mention an abysmal offensive line where none of them are in the league anymore.
Exactly.
None of the offensive line plays football anymore.
And on top of that, the new GM comes to him and says, "Hey, we're going to go in a different direction this offseason." So that is why he didn't sign a new contract with them, because he knew that they were going to make a change at quarterback anyway. So he wanted an opportunity to go to a different team.
For the record, how well did that work out for the San Francisco 49ers, Big Hass?
Ooh. Well, I mean, they got to a Super Bowl.
Not after him.
Their quarterback, Garoppolo went to the Super Bowl and he stunk it up in the 4th quarter.
Oh, yeah, you're right. They got destroyed.
Yes. And Garoppolo, even though he went to Eastern, I can't hate, but he's proving himself to be a middle of the road QB. But you know what? Karma is undefeated. Karma's undefeated. You do bad by somebody, it's gonna come back, and that's why I feel like that's why they're struggling.
Did somebody say Kyrie Irving stomping on the Boston's logo and then immediately spraining his ankle? Did somebody say that?
That like 3 games later?
1 game later.
Yeah.
It's the karma, man. It's the karma.
Karma comes, man. And you got to
like,
that's why I say you got to be good to people. You got to, you be good to people until they prove they don't deserve to be treated that way.
That's why I wasn't mad at Israel Adesanya for doing all that trash talking, because dude was talking all types of crap before that fight.
And he was, after that fight, he was still trying to act like he won that fight. That Italian dude. I'm like, dude, you got your ass whooped for 5 fucking rounds. You got your leg kicked off for 5 freaking rounds. Come on, man.
At one point, Izzy was teeing off on him. Just
yeah.
And then everybody's like, "Oh, why doesn't he knock him out?" He doesn't want to knock him out. He wants to punish him.
He wants to punish
this
him.
Whole fight.
Yes.
Notice Izzy did not attempt one submission hold.
Nope. And he had opportunity.
He didn't want to. He wanted to just beat this dude for 5 rounds.
Yeah.
He said, because I'm not tired.
While we're talking about sports, I think it would behoove us to talk about the colossal choke of these Philadelphia 76ers.
That was terrible tonight.
Don't spoil too much because I'm gonna watch the highlights as soon as this is over.
Let's just say they were up by 20 plus.
They were up 18 at the half.
Dude, they were up by 20, as much as 20 something points. And you know what the outcome is if I talk about a 76ers choke. But they have trouble shooting sometimes.
In the fourth quarter, they were outscored 40-19.
There it is. And also I would be remiss if I didn't talk about the switch. I made a switch to ginger beer and LeBlanc cachaça. I know it is. It's rum. It's a rum, and the caramel and the sweetness that I was talking about that I was looking for It showed up, and that might be from the sweetness of the ginger beer, and also might be from the sweetness of the rum.
Yeah,
that helped bring it out. But I definitely need a box of 5 of these now. I definitely need 5 of these now.
Well, I think we've pretty much summed up everything. We're getting into sports talk. We don't want to chew everybody's ear forever. I was trying to think of some things to make this like a horrible show for Dutch to have to edit, but we'll be kind. We'll be kind to Dutch this time.
Right.
And he'll be back with us next week. Cortez, thank you so much for joining us on.
I will not be back next week, but that's all right.
Yeah, we'll have Tez come in for you then.
Yeah.
Just the standing.
I'll stand in for you. I definitely pushed enough.
You could be the Jalen Rose of the DOA podcast.
I can't be Jalen Rose right now because Jalen Rose is supporting Kwame Brown's weirdness. So
come on, man, Kwame Brown. It's the delivery. It's the delivery of Kwame Brown's truth. It's not what it's not the message because he's telling the truth.
Kwame Brown for me is 50-50. Some of that stuff is right. Some of that stuff is far off base. But he's 50-50 for me.
Okay.
To be fair, that this is a prime example of why you do not tear down your own.
Thank you.
Stephen A. Smith has a bill to pay.
Yes.
Thank you. I will agree with that.
Has a bill to pay.
I will agree with that.
People have bills to pay.
His. So we will get Kobe out of it because he already paid his bill.
Yeah.
But this is why you don't tear down your brothers on national TV and have it be funny because Shaq and JaVale had to get over their whole thing because JaVale's like, yo, you're going to stop punking me.
Yeah.
This shit ain't sweet. Knock it off. I'm not a joke. Stop making me a joke.
Who beat Muhammad Ali?
Joe Frazier.
No, not him. We're talking about the guy who Muhammad Ali was too old to be fighting.
Oh, Larry Holmes.
What did Mike Tyson tell Muhammad Ali
about the fight?
Mike Tyson told Muhammad Ali, "I'm 12, but I'm gonna get him for you."
Oh, right, yeah.
And then Muhammad Ali showed up, and in Mike Tyson corner came out with him, walked down. Mike Tyson was like 19 years old, and he beat the brakes off Larry Holmes.
That was Kid Dynamite back then.
He turned to Muhammad Ali. Muhammad Ali over there shaking and smiling, and he said, "I got him for you." And Muhammad Ali put his fist up, and then Mike Tyson went over there and finished off Holmes. Your receipts coming. That's how it works.
Yeah, when Max Kellerman get that Supermax deal and you get let go by ESPN, that's karma. You shouldn't have did Kwame like that. Let's get out of here. Right. Thank you everybody for hanging out with us tonight. So for Big Haas, for Cortez, for Dutch, who's out sipping probably some cotton candy Manhattan somewhere. You know he's very soft like that. He can defend himself if it's here. And for me, Mikey Famine, we'll see you guys next week. Bye.